Hi there, welcome. I'm here with AJ. AJ is a mate of mine, and he's also youth worker at Cornerstone Baptist, and before that he worked for an Anglican church, and before that he's done youth work with council and all that sort of stuff. So AJ, do you want to just tell us a bit about who you are? We're doing it on the one laptop because we're very high tech and classy, and hopefully you can see him.
You're right. Yeah, I'm AJ. I'm exactly what Mace just said I am. So currently I'm the youth worker at Cornerstone Church in West Howe. And I'm not really doing that much youth work at the moment because of lockdown, but we're doing some detached work and looking to try and expand our presence in the community at the moment. Yeah, I think I've done youth work since I was about 19. I'm quite old now, so it's about 15 years. And we're currently just starting to explore what we're going to do with the area. The church has just had a bit of a renovation, so we're looking at using the building a bit better and a bit differently, with some dedicated youth spaces, as well as being able to have a cafe drop-in and place for people to be able to come and feel at home and be part of something more. I'm going to spin you back around. You can cut this, right?
Yeah, we won't know. We'll make it all work. We'll make it all work live. It'll be more interesting. And so, AJ, you're actually working on an estate where you first cut your teeth in youth work, didn't you? You were first where you first had a guy who did detached youth work with you, and around this area, and now you're back leading youth work in this area. Is that right?
Kind of. Mostly. I mean, I guess I started in Kimpton a little bit more than West Howe, but yeah, I worked with a friend of ours called Chris. We did detached work around West Howe. It's a bit weird doing detached work now and being in charge of it around the same streets a little bit. And seeing the change in the area is massive. It's gone from being, just like it was a much scarier area back then, I guess. And now there's different problems and different challenges. But still an area in very much need of prayer and youth work.
So when COVID isn't on, when COVID was, what's your plans what's your plans and your dreams for post-COVID? And I think you just about started pre-COVID, didn't you? Or you started
mid-COVID.
You started mid-COVID. So what's your dream for the future?
Well, yeah, starting mid-COVID was an interesting experience because I guess I didn't really meet any young people for a while, and then when I did, it was all via Zoom and socially distant and all of that stuff, which is interesting. At the moment we're planning to continue doing detached youth work, which we've been doing as a team, a small team. Going forward, we've got lots more coming up. We're going to have a youth club we do have a youth club that currently runs on a Friday night, but that's currently on Zoom. As I say, we've just refurbished the building, so we're looking at reopening youth club properly with different activities and time and place for young people to be able to have conversations. Continuing doing some detached youth work around the area, continue to build relationships with young people that really need it, as well as branching out into the community to see what's out there. Really, we're trying to assess the main need of the area at the moment. Obviously, during COVID, that's very different to normal. So we're dealing with a lot of loneliness and a lot of people struggling to keep up with school and things like that. But long term, we want to be building relationships with people and introducing them to Jesus and to who he is and the plans he has for them, as well as just getting to know them.
One of the things I love about your youth work, AJ, is it's both very Jesus-centered, but it's also very relational, and it's hearted for those outside the church community, and actually looking to see what God's doing in the community and joining in, which is something I find really inspirational. And that idea that actually as church, we don't just sit in church and say, "Come to us," although actually you have made coming to you as easy as possible with a nice building and coffee and all that sort of malarkey, but also your detached stuff. How did you feel the first time you ever did detached youth work?
Terrified.
I was too.
The first night, I remember it being a really, really, really horrible, foggy evening. I think I got asked by a young person some very inappropriate questions that I won't repeat for this, just to really suss me out, to see if things were, to see how we worked, how we operated, what sort of level we take things. And then build relationships from there. I think what's interesting now about doing detached work and and back then is the things haven't really changed that much. It's just about being relational and finding a way in to working with the young people. We spoke with a couple of kids the other day that were playing a game that I used to play as a kid, where they throw a ball over their head and hit the curb the other side, called Kirby. And it was really funny to be able to have a conversation with them about how old that game is and how much fun it was still. And actually just chatting to them about what they needed and being willing to just open up and chat. Sometimes young people come across as like scary, they've all got hoods on or whatever, but actually they're just people that want to have a conversation. I think once you find that initial way in, the rest becomes easier.
I remember the first time I went out with Chris in the same area that we're standing in as well. I did my first detached thing for quite a long time. I did a tiny bit in York, but not much. And I was talking to this group of kids who looked like AJ was saying, and then one of them said, "Oh, I remember you. You were, I think it was Blob the Builder, this children's holiday club I did at some flips which is the local Anglican church, a few years earlier, where I was all dressed up as this builder that left his chip butty everywhere and was all a bit disorganised and a bit chaotic." And suddenly, from somebody who looked quite terrifying, I suddenly could see him back as a 7-year-old with his colouring and sticking, and suddenly all those fears sort of dissipated a bit. But there's something about that relationship that I think is really key, that being approachable. I think there's something really key too about that, what's the word? The fact that you don't actually go out with this big agenda, say, I'm going to, but you actually just listen and see what the people want to talk about, really.
I think that is, I'll put myself in shot, nice.
Yeah, okay. Make it look good.
This is why he was Blob the Builder and left everything everywhere. Technicality is not Mace's strong suit, is it, Mace?
Do you want to just show him your hair, AJ? Just show him your hair. There you go. There you go. That hair can now be an internet sensation.
It's lockdown. Yeah, I think like relationships is always important in everything. As you just saw there, we were having like banter because we've got a friendship and a relationship, so it's easier to be able to talk. We didn't set that up either, by the way. Like to talk and be honest in general about people. And I think once you find a relational way in to having a conversation with someone, then it's easier to for them to feel comfortable, so then you can work with them and enable them to grow or to support them. And I think especially in youth work, where youth work is so about young people transitioning from who they are currently to who they're going to be as an adult, it's important to help them discover that. And I believe that's partly through relationship, but also partly with God, as he's got a plan for everybody, as well as just the general plan that they're discovering for themselves anyway. So yeah, it's important to have that relational basis when we're doing it.
Make sure I'm in shot now. There you go. Yeah. Brilliant. AJ, if you could meet your young self before you started out on this youth work journey that you've been on for, I can't believe it's 20 years. 15. He's a lot younger than me. What would you say to yourself as your 3 top tips, or 2 or 3 top tips for what you'd say to yourself now, to you then?
I would have told my younger self to bet on Man United win the treble in 1999, but that's probably not what he means. I definitely would say that the situations aren't as scary as they first seem, and people are always people. I tell myself not to listen to stereotypes so much and strategies, but to listen to the individuals more. And I think probably 2 more actually. Find the small ins. I recently spoke to a kid who was walking through mud in white trainers and said it was a stupid day to wear white trainers, and was able to have a conversation from there, which was healthy. It was helpful. As before, I don't think I would have looked even for the circumstance that people find themselves in to start a conversation. I think not just in terms of detached work, but in terms of all youth work, I think is definitely spending time for people as individuals, not just as where the youth club's going or where the session's going, or like as much as big picture is important, the individuals are so much more important. So I think that's probably my biggest tip, is to look at people as individuals, not as a part of something bigger. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, AJ. That's been really helpful. Bless you, mate. Cheers.